May I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We also need a motion to approve the minutes of February 8th.
So moved.
Okay, second. I need a second from someone.
Second.
Thanks, Steve. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, new business. This should be a short meeting because any of the projects that are sort of happening in town right now are sort of seeming to be at a standstill. And let me just tell you what I've been trying to go over as far as from me. I spoke with Barbara. We had an opportunity to apply for the ARPA grant for some money. So we applied from the sewer commission and we applied for a couple of things. We put in an application of $57,783. And for that, we asked for $3,040 to fix the LED lighting in the sewer, the garage down there. We asked for $6,938 for the bearings for the centrifugal blowers, parts and labor. We asked for $2,805 for the alarm system from Rayco, and which needs to be upgraded per insurance requirements. And we asked for an estimate. We estimated a cost of $45,000 to repair the roof on the garage from DJ Hall Roofing. So it was a total of $57,783. And Barbara, do you know when we hear if we qualified for any of that or?
The ARPA committee is still doing their work and they haven't compiled their recommendation list yet, but it is on the consideration table.
Okay, well, we've asked for that. And if we can get any of that, any and all of that funding, that would be money that the sewer commission doesn't have to lay out, which would be really great. The other thing that's coming up, the other thing I did was I spoke to Billy Gowell about putting sand in the beds. We had planned to do 2 last year, and for whatever reason, it seemed to have gotten away from us. And now we need to do the other 2 beds that we need to put into the budget for this year. So we've already put aside the funds for the first 2. We need to put aside funds for the second 2. But I did speak to him because he's evidently the only one who will deliver the sand to us. So he's supposed to get back to me this week on what an estimate is, but evidently any of the other contractors in the area are not even delivering sand. So by default, he's going to be the guy. And hopefully he will get back to me this week on just a rough ballpark figure of what it's going to run. Other things coming up, rate increases. I know we've got, it's kind of all tied in, but I had spoken to Bart over the weekend about considering how to adjust the rates going forward. There hasn't been a rate increase since 2013. And knowing that we have this aeration project on our horizon, and I'm sure we can get some grant money, but it's also still going to have to get paid for by us. And with 400 users on the sewer line, we can't, obviously expect them to pay for all of it, but at least if we can get some grant money to help offset the cost of it, that would be great. So we need to sort of start to put some thought to possibly a rate increase, because there hasn't been one in like 9 years. And I'm not saying go about this willy-nilly. I mean, there's got to be, what the present rate is, it's for residential, it's $41.50 for the quarter. Commercial is it's $60 a quarter, and restaurants are $75 a quarter plus whatever their usage is, and all usage is based at $39 per 1,000 square cubic foot. So somewhere in that line of, somewhere in there, we're going to have to either adjust the base fee and or adjust the per cubic foot fee to help pay for the aeration project once we get started with it. And I'd kind of like to get us sort of focusing on it now before all of a sudden, in a year, we've got this thing headed in another direction, and then all of a sudden we need to come up with some funding for it. So at any rate, that's kind of what I've been working on for the last week. I apologize. That seems kind of quiet on the other front, so I feel bad. It's a short meeting, but let's hear what Lyle has to say. So Lyle, you're up.
Good afternoon, everybody. So since this is technically a double meeting, so last much meeting not having it, I'll give you both figures for the month. We had 2.07 million gallons total come through the plant, 74,000 gallon a day per average, 950,000 gallons came from Kent School. Our average BOD and TSS removal rate is at 99%. The average pH was 7.3. Last month, we had 1.4 million gallons total come through the plant, which is a 52,000 gallon per day average. 485,000 came from Kent School. Average BOD removal rate is 99% for last month, and the total suspended solids removal rate was at 98%. And the average influent pH held at 7.3 like it did the previous month. We got one effluent bed is in use and 3 are drying, but the rain is not helping that at all. Gleason Electric installed a new contactor for blower number 2 at the plant and finished the lighting for the pump shed. Maintenance garage air compressor is also back online as well. The modems for the 2 RACO alarm agents finally arrived. Supply chain issues, there was a delay. The replacement bearings for the blowers arrived as well. We're also getting ready to do the septage bed cleanouts as soon as the weather allows. I was hoping to start them this week, but all that rain we got, I kind of put that project on the back burner for now. That's all I have for now.
Okay. Hang on, I just got to check on one thing here. And how is, I do this every time. I forget your assistant's name. I don't know why. I've got a mental
Peter
block.
Crock.
I've had Justin and I finally got used to him, and then
Yep.
we're on the new guy. But how's he doing? Is he getting ready to take the exam?
He's enrolled in the wastewater course, the Sacramento wastewater course.
Okay,
As soon as he finishes that one, he's got to do the second book. And then he'll be able to test.
okay. And
I'll have
those
to-
in charge are fine with the fact that he's
I have him
signed up
listed
to
as
take
an
the
op-
test?
Yes, I have him listed as an operator in training.
Okay. Okay,
For Craig and Mataski's happy with that.
okay. Thank you. And when's that test, did you say?
Yes, since it's not in person, they're still doing, well, it's kind of in person, but it's via computer at a different site. It's not like they, do it like they were before. With
Okay.
Everybody gathered in a room. He has till February 22nd, Craig told me. He has to sign up, before the end of, I think before the end of September.
Okay.
You can test all the way to February.
Can he take one during the summer, or he wouldn't be prepared for it yet?
He's going to need that second book or he's going to be lost without.
Okay. And how's he doing for you down there?
He's doing well. He
Good,
definitely doesn't need a babysitter, so to speak.
good. Well, that's good.
He's
Sure he's-
catching on. He's catching on quite well.
Excellent.
He understands. There's something to be said by having somebody here that's closer to my age than somebody that's 22 years old. Just saying.
Well, it also helps that he's not driving a million miles too, so
Yeah, he's
gotta, make him feel a whole lot better, so.
Yes.
Okay, Barbara,
All
Thank
right,
you,
I'm
Lyle.
gonna share my screen. Everybody, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the actual versus budget, and it's all the way through the end of the last month. And you can see on the revenue side, we're actually doing a little bit better than what we budgeted, which is wonderful. And it actually looks like it's the sewer use charges. It's not the septage fees. So that could indicate either increased usage or it could be just timing. I'm not really sure.
Could be all
Oh.
those new people who moved up here
Yeah.
helping.
All the other expenses are tracking pretty much with the budget, except for, I think, health insurance or dental insurance, one of the others. And this parts and repairs, but that's due to the additional repairs that have been authorized throughout the year by the board. So we're in good shape right now. We're even with the transfer to capital, which is 16,000 for long-term and 4,900 for short-term. We're still operating at a surplus of $77,000 year to date.
That's great.
Yeah. So then we go to our balance sheet, which gives us our cash balances at the end of March this year versus the end of March last year. And you can see checking and savings combined, we're up $72,000 over the previous year. So that's where it shows in the balance sheet. So this is all good stuff. The rest of the balance sheet really doesn't have anything, any marked changes. And then there's 2 disbursement journals to approve. One is for February because the board didn't meet last month, and the other one is for March. So this is the February disbursement journal. And there really isn't anything of note on here. There wasn't any, there was some benefit assessments that were collected, but those basically get collected and then turned back over to the town. So there's nothing of note in the February disbursement journal. And then on the March disbursement journal, again, we had this repair with BL Gleason for the 2 motors. That was the big expense for the month. And then these kits, I guess these blower kits or seals,
Mm-hmm.
the other big expense, and the rest was just regular operating expense. The new employee did sign up for health insurance as of the day he was hired, but there was a little bit of back and forth between which plan he was supposed to be on. So the premiums finally caught up with us in March. So we ended up owing the town $11,000 for the premiums from December through March, but that's not out of the ordinary. It's just sort of all got lumped together. And that's really all I have. I just need a motion from the board to approve the February and the March disbursement journals.
So may I get a motion to approve those figures from Barbara? I guess we should do 2 motions. So may I get a motion to approve February's disbursement journal?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
okay. And may I get a motion to approve the March disbursement journal?
Yep, sure. So moved.
Second,
Second.
thanks, Steve. I appreciate it. I know Debbie is not coming to the meeting today. I saw her earlier and she's got something else that is on her agenda. So Bart, nice to see you. It's been a long time. And you're on mute. There we go.
I think I got that covered now. So. Yeah, it has been a while. Just a few things to talk about. First is that over the past month, I've talked to a potential developer of the Kent Green properties between the Kent Green itself and Maple Avenue Extension. There's an architect that's looking at those, and he was looking for some information relative to sewer capacities and things of that sort. So we talked to him. I gave him some of the existing information about those sewers. Nothing in real detail, but I guess he was seriously considering entering into some sort of a purchase agreement for that property and then starting the planning process for development. So that's just something that the board may like to be aware of. And second, we're still working on the preliminary engineer's report for the tank upgrade. Been trying to get cost estimates from suppliers for different types of treatment systems. There's a couple of different options that we can look at. Between their schedule and mine, the progress has been a little slow, but we'll hopefully get that straightened up, and then by the time the next month comes along. Outside of that, we talked very briefly about rate increases, and some of the information that I gave Alyssa earlier was that when the commission established the rate system that it has now, it was established in the late 80s, early 90s. And it hasn't really been looked at very closely, but it's been adjusted over the years. So any kind of rate increase might warrant going back to that original formula that everybody considered was a reasonable way to divide the cost of operations amongst the all the different users of the systems, the residential folks, the commercial folks, the restaurants, and then of course Kent School and the larger users like the Kent Health Facility, which I think is now Birch Hill. So there's depending on what the commission feels is the appropriate way, you can certainly give some thought to going back to that same process and seeing what it takes, how it would redistribute the cost amongst all the different owners. But it was a fairly involved process to get to that stage. But if the commission feels it's appropriate to move ahead, we can start putting some of that information back together again.
Well, I think we need to definitely plan on it, because I know we are planning to go ahead with the aeration project. And now, especially if Kent Green is developing, I think it's like 36 units that the guy is trying to do out there. And then if, 227 comes to fruition up on North Main Street, and then if David Schreiber comes along with Club Getaway, I think, as soon as we start to know what the cost of doing this whole aeration project, then we can figure out how to go about getting some funding for it, whether we go to USDA or, get some grant money to figure out how to pay for it. I mean, we can't put the entire whole cost of the project onto the users, because there's only really 400 of them, because it's definitely going to involve money with the town as well. So if we came up with some understanding of, I don't know, to be honest with you, I wasn't on the commission when you put that rate increase in back in, I think it was 2013. But if we had somewhat, if we could have an understanding of how you all did it. And then I think when I spoke to Debbie today, she did mention that it was I think it was a 5% increase when the rate changed in 2013. It was a 5% rate increase that went in. And I'm not just saying to pick a blank number, but we need to crunch some numbers to find out, to make sure we know what it's going to cost, at least if we can get some relatively hardcore numbers, so we know we're in the right ballpark there, and then figure out if we can get some money out of USDA and then some grant money, and then tie that into the rates. I mean, it's a complicated set of figures, but I think we need to get it sort of teed up before, everything's here, and then we're starting from ground zero. So if we can start to work on it and tie it into the whole project, I think that's a better way to do it.
There's a lot of interesting funding opportunities that are coming up with the bipartisan infrastructure law. And there's a huge amount of monies that are going to become available to, especially small communities. So it's going to be worthwhile to be ready to apply for those when the programs are actually defined well. And that's going to be within 3 or 4 months, I think, before they get a good handle on how the grant programs and financing programs are going to operate. So that's important to keep track of, because there will be a significant amount of money, and you don't want to be behind the 8 ball and not be able to take advantage of that money that's going to be out there. There's both going to be grants and loan. They typically won't go together. USDA has always been a good funding source for Kent, but they've kind of been left out of this bipartisan infrastructure law. So we may have to look at the clean water state revolving loan fund. That seems to be the, where they're gonna be pushing most of the program money into rather than Department of Agriculture. But again, still have to watch because it's, anything but definite at this point in time. So.
Art, do you have access to that information? Does that information come across your radar fairly easily, or is that something you sort of have to hunt down?
No, it's everybody every supplier and his brother is out there trying to tell people how they can get free money because they want to sell things. But, so it's not hard to get a hold of that information, but real details about how the whole process is going to work. That's the difficult point at this, the
Okay.
difficult step at this stage. So.
Okay, well
So-
then, so if you keep an eye on when those, I guess, applications become available or are starting to become available, at least and if we're aware of what information that they need from us, so we can put
Yeah.
it together.
I'm sure the selectman's office will be, kept in the loop with all that kind of information, because I know that the Department of Revenue Services in Connecticut is kind of acting as the funding, ombudsman, if you want to call him that.
Uh-huh.
David Boughton who used to be the mayor of the city of Danbury. He's the current chairman. He's being very proactive about meeting with communities to talk about both the funding opportunities and the needs that each community has, so that it would be useful to be on his radar in order to get a better chance of getting as much money as you can. So
Okay,
You mean Mark Boughton?
Mark Boughton, yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Can I ask you one thing? The North proposed project and the Club Getaway project, if they both came in, we would still be okay?
The North Main Street and Club Getaway, yes, you'd still be okay. Yeah.
Okay.
we had talked about that, and there's enough room for that and for those two projects as well as Kent Green. So we are in a position where we can do it. It's just that the present system right now is so old, and it's the inside of that tank, when we had to empty it out for, when we redid it like 3 or 4 years ago, was in terrible shape. And that's why we need to get focused on putting in a new aeration system, so that if we have run into problems with the old one, we're prepared. But the system can take on those three new lines of customers. And
That
who knows
proposed
what's happening with 227 right now? They seem to have gone dark. They have, they're all in some sort of crazy lawsuit right now. So who knows when that thing is going to come to fruition. And I just pray that David at Club Getaway doesn't have, a property full of people and have his system go down on him, because I've been after him for a while to start to move forward on this. And it's like moving glue, unfortunately. So
the
I'd hate to see him have like 5,000 people there on Club Getaway and have to go find a bunch of porta potties to make it work. So anyway,
It'd be good for the septic income.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Anyway, does anybody else have anything else that they want to add in, or?
Is that a project, that Kent Green project, is that multi-housing or is that just
It's 36 proposed units.
36?
Single-
proposed?
Units being apartments,
It's like
standalone houses?
sort of, I don't think it's independent homes. I spoke to Don about it today, and it's like, I think 2 or 3 units per house or 4 units per building or something. It's still in the talking stage. Nothing is concrete. They're just trying to they're in the gathering information mode at the moment to make sure it's a viable project.
Is this part of the low income projects?
Yeah.
Oh,
The other thing is with it that they ran into is to the developer, because the cost of the property was one thing, and then hooking up, putting in a road, that was where they sort of, sort of lost interest the last time because of the cost of it. So I don't know if the town of Kent is going to help them with the cost of the road, or whether or not, whatchamacallit, they're on their own for it, or whether, I'm not sure. They're just still in the gathering information phase right now.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Well.
Good.
Anyway, well, that's it. I mean, if anybody else has anything else to talk about, chime in. Bart, you and I, maybe we can catch up and start to look at some of this information when you have time. I know your schedule's pretty crazy, but at some point, maybe you and I can just have a quick meeting and then, get our heads around this.
Sure, I can get some of the information on the bipartisan infrastructure law, and then talk a little bit about the rate structure and stuff. So,
Okay, that'd be great. Well, I will adjourn the meeting at 4:28, unless anybody else, anything else to add in.
No.
Thank you guys for all coming. Short and sweet.